Thank you for staying with us. Now, let's see what's on the front pages of the papers from around the world this morning. Starting with this day, and here's the front page. After Ihiala, Soludo emerges Anambra governor-elect. I will never disappoint you, says winner. It comes on a day the paper is also reporting National Assembly okays electronic transmission of results, direct primary, expresses optimism that Buhari will sign bill into law. As PDP kicks, says no party has rights to impose its processes on another. Above the masthead this morning, CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, unveils strategy to cut wheat importation by 60% in 2 years. Initiative to save $2 billion foreign exchange annually. And finally, Lagos tops chart as states raked in 849.12 billion naira internally generated revenue in first half.
Now, The Guardian this morning, the main headline, NAS snubs APC Govs, passes electoral bill with direct primaries. INEC to determine results transmission mode. Direct primaries now mandatory for political parties. Lawmakers to transmit electoral bill to Buhari within 7 days. IPC Govs oppose direct primary and may truncate presidential assent. Direct primaries will overstretch INEC, that's according to the PGF chairman. And PDP, no party has the right to impose its processes on another. Also, the Anambra election, Soludo declared the winner, but unknown gunman in shootout with security operatives there.
And Nation newspaper also leads with the just concluded Anambra election. Soludo is governor-elect. INEC declares ABGA candidate winner of Anambra poll. More headlines on the Nation's newspaper. Direct primaries. Governors National Assembly clash. Also, proposed revenue sharing formula pits federal government against states. Above the nameplate of the Nation's this morning, 7 policemen, Air Force Chief grandson killed. Crude oil production drops to 1.52, and Buhari in France for Peace Forum. That's on page 30.
Well, the Punch is reporting on the electronic transmission of results and direct primaries. It says governors are running to President Buhari as senators, reps defy parties. Transmit bill next week. Let's take some other headlines here. Anchor borrowers, farmers owe CBN 463 billion naira as defaults rise. And aviation fuel prices rises by 70%. International airlines may raise fares. Interesting.
And let's look at some international papers now. The Guardian in the UK, their main headline, global heating on track to top 2.4 degrees centigrade despite COP26 pledges. That's according to a report, basically, that would see that it would, by the end of the century, temperatures could be higher than the 2 degrees upper limit that was set in the Paris Accord. Also, questions over IDS's 25k a year second job. This is Ian Duncan Smith, former leader of the Conservative Party. He is facing questions over a second job that he gets £25,000 a year advising multi-million-pound hand sanitizer firm after he chaired a government task force that recommend new rules benefiting it. And also desperate in limbo between Poland and Belarus, the ongoing situation as the people trying to cross into Poland illegally from Belarus.
And Daily Express leading with Sajid Javid's order, which is sparking fears of exodus in the health service. Just do it. 100,000 NHS staff told to get jabbed or lose their job.
It's quite the headline for Daily Star this morning as the paper criticizes members of the Green Party who flew to the COP26 climate change conference. Will the last eco-hypocrite to leave COP26 please turn off the lights?
And the Daily Mail, fury grows over raid on historic UK insurer. Basically, politicians from all parties are united to condemn the £530 million buyout of LV by US firm Bain Capital. The takeover means that the 178-year-old insurer founded to help Liverpool's poor bury their dead will no longer be owned by its 1.2 million members.
And for the press review this morning, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who's in our offsite studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning. The end of the Anambra governorship election. This day newspaper says, after Ihiala, Soludo emerges Anambra governor-elect. And the winner says, I'll never disappoint you. Also in his acceptance speech, he also gave a glimpse of his party's manifest for the state, also thanking President Buhari, INEC, and the present governor. Well, some issues with the election, the APC have said they would reject the election if Soludo emerged winner. Any other parties following that route, Emmanuel?
I don't think it's been reported that any party is worried. It looks as if it's a victory that is well welcome. Already a party even threw its weight behind these candidates at the Ihiala's election, the ADC. So I think apart from the complaints we're getting from APC, I don't know whether there's any other very vocal complaints from the parties. It appears a lot of people are saying this is a beautiful election, and it was a testing ground for what the Senate did yesterday. Finally ratified the bills and of the electronic transmission of votes and many other things happening in that direction. So the Anambra election seemed to have gone well within the doomsday scenario that we were painting all along. Didn't happen, and it seems to be one of those kind of elections that everybody is excited about. And Soludo emergence seemed to be almost predictable and well received. A lot of people believe that he is actually, like he called himself, he says this is the victory of the people, and that he is the people's choice. So barring any other kind of disagreement here and there, and of course the little hitches that you find around this kind of elections, this seems to be like a well fought out victory for Soludo, and already the congratulations are coming in, and a lot of people saying that this is a good choice. Himself, he's bristling with that victory. He said he's not going to disappoint, and already reading out his manifesto. So it was a well-watched election, and I think it's going to be a well-watched governorship too. A lot of people are going to be looking to see how Soludo is able to translate his manifesto to real actions on ground and some results. A lot of expectation from this professor turned politician who is now governor-elect.
First time elected governor. He was also the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And Emmanuel, you're right. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Anambra election. But the people must be commended, because so far we haven't heard any report of one life lost during this very tense moment building up to the election, which has now been concluded in the state. But let's talk about another headline on the front page of this day. It's the National Assembly okaying the electronic transmission of results and direct primaries. Now, while the electronic transmission of results is welcomed by everyone, I guess, the other part of this story, which is the direct primary adoption, is not going down well with some political parties, and the PDP is top on that list.
Well, yeah, and that's a bit strange, because there are the kudos for this policy is coming from all directions. Almost everybody is in agreement that direct primaries is the best practice, is the best way to go. Almost everyone is in agreement, and so apart from the PDP, which is quite curious, and they have their reasons. They say, look, these policies were passed by an APC-dominated Senate, and or National Assembly that is dominated by the ruling party. So they believe that this is an imposition of the party. But that's strange, because even PDP lawmakers seem to be in agreement with this, with some of them vying that they are going to resist party leaders to change their thoughts about direct primaries. A lot of people believe that direct primaries are the best way to go. In the past, what you have is, some people called delegates who can be, actually teleguided or used to produce the candidates that is not totally the people's choice. But with this, that is not going to happen again. If you want to run for office, you just go straight to your constituency and get people practically line behind you and vote for you. Some people believe that that's returning power to the people. That's more transparent, that's more direct, like it's called direct primaries. It's more direct, and without all the other crises of impositions of candidates on people. So a lot of people believe that this is more democratic than the system that used to be. Why PDP is kicking is a bit curious, but then the PDP is saying loud and clear that this didn't come from all the parties, it came from the APC, and so they are rejecting. The governors too are up in arms, trying to say that this is not going on for them. Remember that in the past, governors had a lot of say about who becomes who, the candidate of a party. With this, the governance power has been whittled, considerably in that direction. People can actually now vote for, candidates of their choice. Some people think that that's a very good day for democracy, while the PDP, for instance, is kicking against it.
Emmanuel, there's a story in the Guardian this morning that says Europe begins the restitution of Africa's looted artefacts. Yesterday we saw the French President Emmanuel Macron sign off to return some items, the Benin artefacts. We've seen in the UK some universities willing to return, but the British Museum itself basically saying it would be willing to discuss sharing artefacts. Surely the situation, though, is getting better as a whole.
Yeah, and I think it's a win-win situation for everyone. For those who are students of history or archaeology, this is a very interesting story. We saw one of those kind of major returns the other day when the ancient Benin Kingdom got its cockerel back. So these are beautiful things happening. It's some form of restitution. It's some form of closure to the sad history of slavery and the exploitation of some of the artifacts here. This kind of gestures just try to right the wrongs of the past. It doesn't take away everything from that past, from the history of degradation, of exploitation, of dehumanization that really happened in those transatlantic slave trade, especially with the looting of artifacts and cutting away of all sorts of things. An interesting book in Africa is called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, and one of the areas they point to is this cutting away of artifacts and, of course, the slave trade. But with this, it looks like a new day for relationship, for trying to right the wrong of the past, and to bring some form of mental closure, if possible, to some of the dehumanizing memories of the history of that relationship that existed. Not to talk of even the economic impact or the impact it has for tourism, for cultural affinity between these countries. So it's a good development, and I think it's a good thing that we are reporting these gestures from the people who practically stole this artifact and now ready to do some restitution, to actually do some kind of face saving and righting the wrong of the past.
Looking at the international papers and the daily press, Express reporting 100,000 NHS staff just told to get the jab, the COVID-19 jab, or lose their job. What are your thoughts on this? This is another brewing healthcare crisis if they're short-staffed in the NHS.
And very interesting headline, say just do it. So it's either the jab or your job. So you have the choice to either go for the jab or you lose your job. But then again, like we discussed in the past, these are just extreme measures taken to show the seriousness of the issue we are talking of the vaccination and the kind of seriousness attached to it by officials and governments of nations trying to find a way to deal with this thing. So they're making it mandatory in our own case. In a few weeks' time, you can't get into a public office, for instance, without showing your certificate of vaccination or some proof that you've been vaccinated. So here the story is saying get a job or you lose your job. So it's either that or the job. It looks like an extreme way to go, but if you look at the seriousness of what we're talking about, you also agree that probably some form of mandatory vaccination is what is the way to go about this. And I think this story is just speaking to that seriousness.
Very well put, Emmanuel. Your jab or your job. Thank you so much for reviewing the papers with us this morning once more. See you tomorrow.